Welcome to the new chapter of our Part of Speech series. Chapter 4: Adjectives. If you like to read, we have picked up some of the best material for you. Click the link in the description to know more. Let's begin. What is adjective? To understand the meaning of adjectives, let's take a look at its origin. Adjective comes from Latin nomen adjectivum, a calque of ancient Greek, Romanized, epitheton anoma, lit. Additional noun. In the grammatical tradition of Latin and Greek, because adjectives were inflected for gender, number, and case-like nouns, they were considered a type of noun. The words that are today typically called nouns were then called substantive nouns. The terms noun substantive and noun adjective were formerly used in English but are now obsolete. Definition of adjective. Adjectives are words that describe or modify other words, making your writing and speaking much more specific, and a whole lot more interesting. Words like small, blue, and sharp are descriptive, and they are all examples of adjectives. Because adjectives are used to identify or quantify individual people and unique things, they are usually positioned before the noun or pronoun that they modify. Some sentences contain multiple adjectives. Adjective examples. The highlighted words are adjectives. They live in a big, beautiful house. Since it's a hot day, Lisa is wearing a sleeveless. The mountaintops are covered in sparkling. On her birthday, Brenda received an antique vase filled with fragrant. List of adjectives. There are tons and tons of adjectives. The following list gives a tiny sample of the many, many adjectives that exist: happy, embarrassing, tall, delicious, uncomfortable, clumsy, suspicious. Types of adjectives. Comparative adjectives, superlative adjectives, predicate adjectives, compound adjectives, possessive adjectives, demonstrative adjectives, proper adjectives, participial adjectives, limiting adjectives, descriptive adjectives, interrogative adjectives, attributive adjectives, distributive adjectives. Comparative adjectives. A comparative adjective is an adjective used to compare two people or things. We use comparative adjectives to say that one person or thing demonstrates a high degree of equality or is a better example of equality than the other. Words like taller, smarter, and slower are examples of comparative adjectives. List of comparative adjectives. As long as it makes sense to use an adjective to compare two things, any positive form adjective can be turned into a comparative adjective. The following list gives just a sample of words we use as comparative adjectives: angrier, busier, cooler, dustier, more energetic, friendlier, less gruesome, happier, more interesting, less jarring, kinder, leaner, meaner, nicer, less obstructive, prettier, more questionable. Superlative adjectives. A superlative adjective is an adjective used in comparisons to describe something as being of the highest degree or extreme. We use superlative adjectives when making comparisons of three or more people or things. The words biggest and fastest are examples of superlative adjectives. These books belong on that list of superlative adjectives. As long as it makes sense to compare more than two people or things, almost any adjective can be used as a superlative adjective. Here are just some examples of superlative adjectives: angriest, most boring, coolest, darkest, least entertaining, fattest, goofiest, hungriest, iciest, jolliest, laziest, most miserable, nicest, most overrated, purplest, quickest. Predicate adjectives. A predicate adjective, sometimes called a predicative adjective, is an adjective that is used in the predicate of a sentence. Sentences and clauses are made of two major parts, the subject and the predicate. The subject, very simply put, tells us who or what is doing or experiencing something and is usually a noun, noun phrase, or pronoun. The predicate, also very simply put, tells us what the subject is doing or experiencing and usually consists of a verb or a verb phrase and possibly a direct object, subject complement, and/or other modifiers. In the sentence "Dave likes cats," the subject is Dave and the predicate is likes cats. Predicate adjective examples in a sentence. Dominic is sleepy. The predicate adjective sleepy describes the subject Dominic. This movie looks really terrible. The predicate adjective terrible describes the subject this movie. Compound adjectives. A compound adjective is an adjective that is made up of multiple individual words. Usually, the words are connected by a hyphen or hyphens when used as an adjective. Words like absent-minded and happy-go-lucky are examples of compound adjectives. List of compound adjectives. Double-sided, wishy-washy, top of the line, 700-word, 8-hour, fat-free, never-ending, Spanish-speaking, middle-aged, gender-neutral, out of the way, born again. Possessive adjectives. A possessive adjective is an adjective that modifies a noun by identifying who has ownership or possession of it. For example, in the sentence, Andrew lost his keys, the word his is a possessive adjective that indicates the keys belong to Andrew. The most commonly used possessive adjectives are my, your, his, her, its, our, their, and whose. In order, these adjectives correspond to the pronouns I, you, he, she, it, we, they, and who. List of possessive adjectives as mentioned earlier. The most common possessive adjectives are my, your, her, his, its, our, their, whose. Demonstrative adjectives. A demonstrative adjective is an adjective used to specifically describe the position of something or someone in space or time. The most commonly used demonstrative adjectives are this, that, these, and those. There are two major reasons we use demonstrative adjectives. 1. First, we use demonstrative adjectives to describe the physical location of something relative to the speaker. The adjectives this and these refer to closer objects or people, and the adjectives that and those refer to objects or people further away. This and that are used to modify singular nouns, and these and those are used to modify plural nouns. 2. The second main way we use demonstrative adjectives is to refer to moments in time. Just as in the previous examples, this and these are used to refer to current, recent, or closely upcoming moments in time, while that and those are used to refer to moments that occurred or will occur further away from the current moment. For example, this day has been great. This indicates a day close to the present moment, i.e. the current day. I remember that day like it was yesterday. That indicates a day that occurred long before the current moment, possibly the distant past. Proper adjectives. A proper adjective is an adjective that comes from a proper noun. In brief, Proper nouns are nouns that refer to unique people, places, and things. For example, the nouns Isaac Newton, Russia, and Twitter are all proper nouns. In general, we use proper adjectives to say that something originates from a specific place or is related to a specific person. For example, something that originates from Japan is said to be Japanese, and the Victorian era was the period of history during which Queen Victoria of England reigned. List of proper adjectives in general. Most proper adjectives come from the names of people or places. People, Elizabethan, Victorian, Napoleonic, Christian, Buddhist, Shakespearean, Edwardian, Maoist, Jacksonian, Kafkaesque, Confucian places. Spanish, American, Japanese, Chinese, Australian, Chilean, Norwegian, Jamaican, Bulgarian, Iraqi, Afghan, Haitian, African, European. Participial adjectives. A participial adjective is an adjective that is identical in form to a participle. In short, participles are words that usually end in e, d, or ing and derive from verbs. However, there are many irregular participles that don't have these endings, such as grown, hidden, and broken. A participial adjective simply takes a participle and uses it as an adjective. For example, I put on my running shoes. She was really tired. Although participial adjectives look a little weird, they behave the same as any other adjective. They are used to modify and describe nouns and pronouns. While it depends on the word, participial adjectives often describe something's state or condition, or say that something is related to a certain action or activity. Limiting adjectives. A limiting adjective is an adjective that modifies a noun or pronoun by restricting it rather than describing the qualities or traits of it. Limiting adjectives are contrasted to descriptive adjectives, which do describe nouns and pronouns. What does this mean? Let's first look at an example of a descriptive adjective. Katia owns friendly cats. The descriptive adjective friendly modifies the noun cats. This adjective describes the cats. It tells us that the cats are pleasant to be around and like making friends. We have learned something about cats that allows us to describe them. Now, let's look at an example of limiting adjective. Cat owns some cats. The limiting adjective some modifies the noun cats. This adjective restricts the cats by saying that Katia owns more than one cat. More importantly, the adjective some doesn't describe anything about the cats. We don't know what the cats look like, how they act, or anything else about them. We haven't learned any information that would help us describe these specific cats. This lack of description is what makes descriptive adjective. A descriptive adjective is an adjective that modifies a noun or pronoun by describing it or expressing its quality. Take a look at the following sentences. He stood next to the tall woman. The monkeys were very loud. In these sentences, the words tall and loud are descriptive adjectives. They both describe the nouns they modify and tell us information we can use to describe the things they are referring to. We know that the woman would need a high number to refer to her height, and we know that the monkeys make noise that can be heard from far away. List of descriptive adjectives. A great many of the adjectives you will find are descriptive adjectives. As long as an adjective describes or qualifies the noun or pronoun it modifies, it is considered to be a descriptive adjective. The following list gives just a few examples of descriptive adjectives: angry, blue, careful, dry, eager, fast, great, hot, incredible, jumpy, klutzy, little, mighty, nice, outlandish, prim, quiet, rude, special, ticklish, undercover, vicious, wide, young, zesty. Interrogative adjectives. An interrogative adjective is an adjective that modifies a noun or pronoun in order to ask a question. For example, which color is your favorite? In the above sentence, the adjective which modifies the noun color to ask someone what their favorite color is. If you know your adjectives, you'll see that the word which is an adjective because it is modifying a noun. Of course, interrogative adjectives can also modify pronouns, too. I have 3 cakes here. Which one do you want? List of interrogative adjectives. There are only 3 interrogative adjectives. They are which, what, whose. Attributive adjectives. An attributive adjective is an adjective that is directly adjacent to the noun or pronoun it modifies. An attributive adjective is not separated from a noun by a linking verb. In English, attributive adjectives usually come directly before the noun they modify. For example, she has a small car. He has some delicious pies. However, it is possible for attributive adjectives to be used postpositively, meaning they come after the noun or pronoun they modify. For example, I got my mom something special. Usain is the fastest man alive. In either case, attributive adjectives are part of the same noun phrase as the word they modify. If an adjective is separated from the word it modifies by a linking verb, it is not an attributive adjective. Instead, we refer to this kind of adjective as a predicate adjective. For example, attributive adjective, I laughed at the funny clown. Predicate adjective, the clown is funny. Distributive adjectives. A distributive adjective is an adjective that refers to members of a group individually. For example, the word each is a distributive adjective in the sentence each person got their own lunch. The word every is a distributive adjective in the sentence he gave a bone to every dog at the park. While these sentences mean that something is happening to an entire group, the distributive adjectives separate the groups into individual members. We are talking about what happens to the members of a group. Often, distributive adjectives are used to slightly alter a sentence's meaning. For example, every child received a toy. The children received toys. While these 2 sentences are close in meaning, the first sentence says that every single child got a toy while the second says that a bunch of toys were given to a group of children. The second sentence doesn't specify how the toys were distributed, and it could mean that the children received toys as a group to be shared, for example. Distributive adjectives are helpful when trying to express specific meanings in situations like this. List of distributive adjectives. Some of the most commonly used distributive adjectives include each, every, either, neither, any, both. Where do you include a distributive adjective in a sentence? Most of the time, distributive adjectives are used before the nouns and pronouns they modify. Every house on the street has a chimney. Either option sounds good to me. Any person can make a donation. Thanks for watching. Want to know more about English grammar? Then please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will post a weekly video on English grammar on our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for next episode. Please like and share our video. See you soon. Take care and keep learning.